Is that better? Wait, how do I... Hey guys, it's Sarah from Just My Typewriter, and I'm back with another thrift trip. So a couple weeks ago, I was in New Jersey and I discovered a new chain of thrift stores called My Unique Thrift in New Jersey, and I really enjoyed them and wanted to come back today. I'm looking for a few items for either resale or rehabbing, so I was hoping that I could take you guys with me and we'd check out some of these stores. So I'm in the Watchung, New Jersey location, so we're gonna try this one first. I was here a few weeks ago picking up a Laserdisc player and I saw some Coach bags in the store, so I'm hopeful that there's a couple, but I wanted to go through the process of what do I think when I'm thrifting, or what are the things that I'm looking for while going on a thrift trip. So let's go into this new thrift store.
So I started on the purse wall. This is usually where I start now in any thrift store. I ran into a few Coach bags pretty immediately, but they were really out of my price range. I did see a few other items, including this R Riveter purse, which is a military spouse-owned company. This was from Shark Tank, so I did recognize this purse. And I did also spot a few Coach items in the wallet section, which in this thrift store was separate from the purse section. So here are a few Coach wallets, including this more designer Coach wallet. And then I also noticed this logo Coach wallet, but again, they were just really expensive and out of my price range. One thing I really like about this store is that they separate their shoes by size. Not every store does this. I did try on these boots, but they didn't quite fit. I always recommend try things on before you buy.
Okay, not a lot there. But what I do like about them is they do have like a system of sale off tags. So you pick particular colors each week and they rotate through them, much like a Goodwill or a Salvation Army. So that does help cut the cost a little bit, but a lot of the bags there were just way too expensive for what they were. This Coach bag was actually fake, and I can tell because I've had a similar Coach bag to this before. The hardware just doesn't match up, and there's no spaces on the creed in between superior quality. So to me, this is a fake Coach bag. It's not their job to authenticate these things, but as someone who gets into these hobbies or tries to buy things to resell, you don't want to be buying fake things. So that was a little bit discouraging, but we've got a couple more that we're going to stop at and check those out as well.
So on to the second location. This is 2 out of 3. I've never been here before, but I walked in and was kind of overwhelmed by how large of a store this was. The purses were on the back wall. They're usually either on the back wall or up next to the registers. I did run into a few Coach wallets, but they were all around the $30 mark, out of my price range, and not necessarily something I'm looking to buy. I'm not trying to buy anything with logos anymore, or new ones like this Coach Poppy wallet. I did, however, see this kind of Sedona style pencil or makeup case. I would definitely go for something like this, but it was out of my price range. This Coach bag I could tell immediately was fake. It wasn't on the purse wall and it was in the back of the store, but they could tell too because it was only $5. I did see this in the electronics section. This is an empty typewriter case. Now, anytime I run into an empty case, I always consider purchasing it because you never know when you might need a case for your typewriter, and it was also on sale. I did run into an electric typewriter here, but it was over $30, so definitely a no-go. And this VHS player had Ghost stuck in it, so I thought that was funny.
So because of the sticker color, it was half off, so I only paid about $3 for an empty typewriter case. Ah, and there we go, typewriter and case made in Japan. So it might be a Brother typewriter, actually. I'm just gonna shove that in there. Okay, we're at the third location. This one is in Union, New Jersey. I think I've maybe driven an hour in between these different thrift stores, but this is the third location. So let's check this one out.
Walked in and once again was kind of overwhelmed by how many bags they had here. The first one I spotted, this is not a Coach bag, but it is designed to look like a Coach bag. You can see here that the hardware is not Coach hardware and there's no creed inside, but they had it priced as if it was a Coach bag. Behind it there was this little signature bag. Again, priced pretty high for what it is. They're not super collectible in this style or pattern. I did see a few other ones like this 2000s Coach bag. These are really popular right now in the Coach collecting community, but out of my price range. I did take a walk back to the electronics section where I ran into these briefcases, including this Coach Authentic briefcase. This was made in 1997, but it was listed at $104. I always recommend walking through the electronics. You never know what you're gonna find. Here was a toolkit, but it looked like it could have been a typewriter case, so I decided to check it anyways. And along the back wall, I did run into an electric typewriter, and this honestly looks like the case that I just bought, so maybe I have a Sears electric typewriter case. This was a word processor listed for $30, so out of my price range.
I had the same as a kid.
And I thought all hope was lost until I found this Dunkin' Donuts thermos, and I really couldn't help myself.
I 1000% bought things I don't need, but all their Coach bags, like the ones I'm looking at, were hung up on the wall and labeled for like $104. So they know what they have. So I think we're gonna go to one more place. Ugh, why can't I get in the car? That's not a unique thrift. It's a different brand of thrift. It's called Second Avenue Thrift. And it should be still in Union. So we're gonna try that last, and then I think we'll head home because New Jersey prices are getting a little expensive for me. I do like that you can get the discounted items. It seems like none of the stuff I was looking at was in the color code for the week. Everything I was looking at was in like a blue tag. So let's try one more place.
I always think it's cool when thrift stores have these bag walls because my local ones don't have anything like this. So I did decide to look through these for any craft supplies that might become useful later. And I did walk through the electronics section. Now, in this area was mostly crock pots and coffee makers, but don't sleep on a section like this. You never know what you're going to run into. I spied out of the corner of my eye underneath a table on my peripherals some sort of plastic case. It looked like it could have been a typewriter, but this is a record player. So I thought that was cool to see as well. I did stop and look at the bag wall. The prices here seemed a little bit more reasonable for what they had, and I did decide to go through and see if there's anything that I might want to add to my collection. What I found here was mostly fakes. I don't really know what this is trying to be. I couldn't tell if it was trying to be Gucci or Coach. It just looked really odd to me. And then I also ran into probably the worst fake I've ever seen. So this is a Coach logo bag, but the leather's peeling, which is an indication of not real leather. And the story patch or creed here is huge.
I knew this place looked familiar. I was 5 minutes from a Restore in New Jersey. I've been here several times. I really like this Restore. So this is Habitat for Humanity Restore. I think we're in Randolph, New Jersey. I don't really know. We're on New Jersey 10. So I'm gonna go in here and delay my trip home a little bit longer. I'm trying to avoid a sinkhole on 80 because that's the world that we live in. So let's go to Restore.
So what's cool about this Habitat for Humanity is it started to include clothing in the store as well. So I did walk through the clothing section and run into a few pieces I was interested in. I checked briefly through the bag section and I didn't really find much here, but you never know what you're gonna run into, so it always helps to look. And one tip I always have is if you're going to a place that sells something specific, look for the things that aren't in that specific area of resale. You might find something interesting. This store is full of specifically furniture. If I was ever going to refurnish a house, I would go to Habitat for Humanity Restore because they have great pieces of furniture for really affordable costs. Just like this huge desk, I definitely would have bought this if I had a place to put it. Another thing I really like about this location is they have a whole room dedicated to books and records. And I've started collecting records in the last couple of months. It's another piece of physical media I really enjoy having. And you never know what you're gonna run into. They have so many options here. Probably not really valuable records, but I like classical music and soundtracks, so it was really cool to see this Close Encounters soundtrack here in the record room at the Restore. They also have a pretty full antique section here in this Restore. And again, you never know what you're gonna run into, so I always do stop and check. But without fail, this Restore always has at least one electric typewriter in the back. Here is that same typewriter we saw from before for about $10 cheaper, so it's definitely more affordable than the unique thrifts. And on the bottom shelf, we have a $10 IBM Selectric. Now, I did go and find an outlet and plug this in just to make sure it would turn on before I spent $10 on it.
I may have just made a massive mistake, but I did decide to buy that IBM Selectric for $10. It powered on. Now it didn't move anything. I'm hoping I can clean it and that'll fix it, but I could hear the hum of the motor, which makes me feel a lot better about it because at least it takes electricity. The other thing that I love is that my total was 1066 with tax, which is the year of Battle of Hastings. So it's like a nice little sign that I may be for trouble with this IBM. If you want to see what happened to the IBM, you'll have to wait for the next video. But if you want some more typewriter content, there are some more videos on this YouTube channel, as well as on my Instagram at just.my.typewriter. I want to thank you all so much for watching and remind you, you're just my typewriter. And yes, the innards are under this large box so that Lippy doesn't dig into them.